Great.
If I only got one nugget out of that, it's because I do a lot of phone calls. And one of the things he talks about in there is smile when you're on the phone. It comes across on the other end.
Real Estate Investing Profits presents Profit Masters with your host, world-renowned real estate coach and investor, Corey Boatwright. Now, strap in and get ready to learn elite wealth-building investment strategies taught by 6- and 7-figure house flipping masters as they reveal their best real estate investing profit secrets to you right now.
What is up, party people? This is Corey Boatwright. I am your host of Real Estate Investing Profit Masters and your founder of Real Estate Investing Profits. I hope you're having a phenomenal, productive, fun, intentional, freaking glorious day, right? Every day you're above ground, be grateful, right? This is incredible time in history right now for real estate investing. Why? Because you listen to the show, right? You have specialized knowledge and you're using it. And you're listening to other folks that are using it and crushing it, not only in their local market, but virtually, right? So incredible things are happening. Now, who are we talking with today? It is none other than Mr. Larry Higgins. Now, who is Larry? He runs Skip Genie. And what they do is skip tracing, right? They track down sellers, right, that no one else is really looking for. It's the goal. These are some incredible leads once you figure out the best way to get in touch with them, because no one else typically is going after them. So it is just perfect for you to crush and get these awesome deals. All right. So make sure that you pay attention to what Larry is doing with Skip Genie. I think you're going to enjoy it a lot. Now, the audio and the video is kind of weird on this. So I apologize on that. We did our best to kind of splice it together. But you should be able to get everything out of the interview that you need, right? Which is all the nuggets, all of the strategies, and what's most importantly, how you can get in touch with Larry, right? So I want to make sure that you pay attention because you're going to dig it. Have you downloaded your Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide? If you haven't, text the word profit to 38470. Do it right now. 38470. Take out your phone, right? Make sure you're not driving. If you're jogging, just pull over or just stop. Stop. If you're jogging, just stop and text the word profit to 38470. And you will have the Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide magically sent to you. Okay. If you're interested in wholesale coaching, love to talk with you about that. We do roughly about 100 deals a year, and that's wholesaling. We focus primarily on wholesaling and love to talk with you about how the machine is set up to do that. We send over 30,000 postcards, letters out every single month. If you're doing your math, that's around a little over 7,500 a week. And so we have got this game down pretty well and got results. So I'd love to talk with you about what that looks like in your market or wherever you want to invest, the strategies that are involved in that. And I can tell you, if you are wanting to figure everything out yourself, you can do that, but you'll spend a lot more money than just getting a coach. So we have a strategy session for coaching. Love to talk with you. Simply go to coryscoaching.com, CORYS, coaching.com and check it out. Make sure you watch the video right on the homepage there, and we'll ask you a couple questions, see if we're a good fit with each other. Okay. So here you go. This is Mr. Larry Higgins, and I hope you enjoy what he's doing with Skip Genie.
Larry, are you there, my man?
I am. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for taking the time to be on here. Now, are you calling in from Houston, or where are you out there with Will, or where are you calling in from?
Yeah, well, basically Houston. I'm actually working from the home office today. I'm based just south of Houston, but obviously there all the time.
I gotcha. Okay. And so it's kind of interesting how how we met here and how you're on, because Will Dinker is in the Collective Genius Mastermind, and he works with you for Skiptracing. And you guys been doing some things for a while, and I actually have just I've just also sent over some postcards or some letters for Skiptracing as well. I'd like to talk about that, obviously, because I think that's what your expertise is. But before we get into that, what got you involved in real estate investing and then moving over to this kind of Skiptracing world?
There was never just a light bulb went off. Hey, real estate's this awesome thing. It was just something. As long as even being a kid, I always thought it'd be cool to have rental properties. And as I got older, I looked at it more as a nice little retirement nest egg type thing to work towards. And can't say I had a serious passion for it until life circumstances, jobs, things like that. I've always had good jobs. Graduated from Texas A&M. Sure. Went to a multifamily construction. Life was good. And then, all of a sudden I found myself in a job for the first time in my life. I was bored out of my mind with it. I didn't like going to work. Longest days of my life. Great company. Salary was good. Great people. It was miserable days. And happened to stumble onto Mitch Stevens. And just at that time, I was kind of I was hearing ads on the radio, all these different people, different groups doing seminars. I thought I might check that out. And then I heard, hey, our speaker this weekend is going to be Mitch Stevens. Researched him, found his book, read it in 2 days, and he called me 2 days after I bought it or read it. He called, and that kind of lit a fire under me. So I quit my job and just jumped into it. I'd never even bought a house before. I didn't even own the house I was living in at the time. So everything was about as new as you can get to me. Wow. But my attitude was, all these other thousands of people are doing this and making a living doing something. Sure. But as far as the Skiptracing aspect, it was just a kind of a natural progression. I started off like everybody else, some bandit signs, mailers, driving for dollars, things like that. And I realized real quick that I had more leads I need to follow up on than I had the ability to, and I definitely couldn't afford to. So just out of necessity, I learned how to become my own skip tracer, and not having to be picky about which ones I decided to follow up on, and just saying, you know what, I'm going to do them all, just totally changed everything for me. But that's kind of how I got to the point.
I gotcha. So basically, you had some postcards and you had some mailers and everything that are going out, and you had some that are coming back, and we all know that those are the gold nuggets, but there really isn't a systematic way to really follow up on those besides just getting them and skip tracing them one by one. And so I'm interested in kind of seeing how you have kind of created that system to be able to do that. Again, for me, it's a no-brainer. I can just send them and you'll take care of them. And you don't even charge if you don't find the person, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Correct. If there's no result on the search, there's
no fee, right? Okay. So so Mitch Stevens was, a good friend of mine. He's an incredible investor, really knocking it out of the park with, I guess you would say, owner finance, or, he also does some lease options, but owner finance, really a master at that. Would you say that's true? Yeah,
definitely. And he's just a great guy.
Yeah, he is a great guy. So
after I found him, I never would have paid for a mentor, and that was probably the best decision I made, was having him as paying for his coaching. But I'm real skeptical of coaches and mentors, and I did my due diligence, that kind of thing. I said, he just seems like the real deal, but by far the best money I've spent on my education.
That's great. Yeah, he is a great guy. He is the real deal. He had a ton of properties and ton of results, and great books. So I can't say
he's about as creative as you can.
He's crazy creative, crazy smart on how he puts together deals. What is that kind of what we call the Profit Master investing strategy? I know it involves your skip tracing, but really, what is it what's something that you're doing right now that is kind of giving you an edge, would you say, on your investing?
Me specifically is just being a little bit in what properties I go after. I really like, everybody likes vacants. So either tax delinquent properties that it's about figuring out the distressed properties and trying to find those indicators that it's vacant,
right,
and or estates that fly under the radar. So everybody mails estates. I mean, direct mail is so saturated. I can't tell you how many times I've walked to a point of the seller's like, hey, I got all this mail. You want, literally offering me if I want it. So I don't need it. But the only reason why I got this. Yeah. Well, I did take it one time. I was just curious to see what the different types of mail people were sending. And it's funny because I'm seeing other investors I know around Houston. I'm like, yeah, not today, guys. So those are the ones I really like. It seems to be the ease of the transaction. You're not dealing with having to get them moved and all that, especially with the inherited properties that need some work. They just seem to be better deals and less, when you find them in those situations, less competition for them. Because a lot of times, if you mail that list, my problem with mail, I'm not saying mail doesn't work, besides that it's saturated, the problem with mail is you never know if that person got it. I literally had a letter returned, I think about a month ago. I'd mailed it 2 years ago. That just set a new record for me. 2 years later, it gets returned.
Yeah, it's pretty. It happens, right? Because people don't either throw stuff away or sometimes it just shows up randomly. I've had that happen too, right?
Yeah, and had that been a hot deal, I would have lost it. But I went ahead and looked it up, and I figured out why I mailed the lady really fast. She had some great properties in Houston, a lot of distress, and finally tracked her down, did the phone calls, and I went and knocked on the door. I couldn't get her to answer her phone, and made an offer the other day. Not sure if they're going to accept it, but I never would have had the opportunity just relying on mail. So first and foremost is calling instead of mailing. Me personally, you can do both. I would never tell anybody not to for your multiple touches and things like that. But I'm just really targeted in what I go after. And that's something I try and help other people with, especially newbies, people that are real new. The goal is to get you a deal as quickly as possible, as cheaply as possible.
Right.
Whether it's driving for dollars or how to filter through a list to look for certain indicators that you can go after.
Right. Well, and so that's kind of interesting. So the different mail codes, if you will, do you have a different kind of value that you declare or, a weight on each one of those mail codes?
No, I don't. I just, as long as I get it, I have two codes and they handwrite them, or sometimes they'll stamp them, vacant or deceased.
Right.
But return mail is return mail to me. Those will get priority because they've already told me a lot without me having to research it.
Sure.
They're all priority. I just give those a little bit more priority, that kind of thing.
Sure. I do too. Yeah.
So these days, I would never tell anybody don't do mail. I don't really send mail unless it's a last ditch effort and I mail a contract. But that's a different scenario. And just the utility of Skiptracing, it's such an underutilized. Everybody mentions it in passing. Oh, just Skiptracing. My general rule is the harder somebody is to find, the more likely that's going to be a pretty good deal.
Absolutely. You're right. Most people aren't going to be willing to take the time to find the person, and it's just going to be gold. So these days, you're really being more or less a Skiptracing facility, a Skiptracing program where people can send you their postcards, send everything to you, and then you look them up, and it's on a per deal basis, right, or per lookup basis. You got to make sure that you can find some information on them, and if you do, then they're charged a flat fee. Is that correct?
Correct. We have that service for what we consider our volume people that have a lot of the mail and stuff like that, because there's an issue there that they don't have time to do anything with the mail to get started. So we said, hey, you know what? Ship it to us. We'll take care of it. And then what we do is we provide, when we run those searches, we provide that back to the customer in a format to where they can upload it into an auto dialer or whatever program they want to use to do mass text messaging, voicemail drops. And I'm sure a lot of people have the systems in place where they do a 6-month follow-up every 30 days, something like that.
Right.
Well, that's the beauty. Once you have those numbers, you've got them. Put them on a 30-day rotation, voicemail, text message, whatever the case is. It's all automated at that point.
That's great. So basically right now, there are investors that are listening right now, and, many of them haven't even done a mailer. Some of them have done their mailers. But the question really comes down to, why they would want to kind of send those letters and postcards to you as opposed to just kind of doing it themselves. Can you talk about what would be that benefit for them working with you?
Well, some of the added benefit, first of all, our information is going to be as good or better as anybody else's out there. And when I say anybody, I mean anybody. It's for all these other services out there. We have customers now that are using upper tier services. Now they're on our bulk side, but we're able to do so much more than what they can offer as far as formatting and helping with. We can help you with your messaging on scripts, templates on mass text messages, what to say, voicemail drops, things like that.
Sure.
And then the smaller people, our smaller groups where they're not doing the volume, it's just kind of one-offs, or I say one-offs. They maybe they're doing 5 or 10 a month or 20, whatever the case is.
Right.
They may just want the numbers, but there's also a good chance they're really trying to a full-blown skip trace. It's not just about contact information. It's the owner's deceased. I need to find the relatives. There's a lot that goes into skip tracing rather than just a report. And we're going to provide a lot of information for you on where to go, what to do. I mean, it doesn't happen often, but we'll say, hey, at this point, if you're looking at a really hot deal, this is when you want to get a genealogist involved. Some people are like, a what? But if you ever have the opportunity to call somebody out of the blue, a distant relative of a deceased owner, inform them that they're a legal owner of a property, it's free money falling out of the sky, especially if they're in another state. The best deal we did by far last year, I'll never forget, I called a lady. I didn't realize she was in Alaska. I called her at like 6 a.m. her time. And she know her cousin had died. I didn't, I'm the one, I'm filling her in on her family history. Hey, I think you're related to this guy. She goes, oh yeah, cousin, Alfie. Oh, we didn't realize he died. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. I said, oh, well, you own a piece of his property. And by the way, you've got squatters in it too. But it was well worth all the effort put into that. But, that's obviously one of the more complicated deals, but we can help people get to that level. We're also it's in the works now. We haven't started, but just like a weekly or bi-weekly call, people hop on. What issues are you having? Is it
sure.
Some people, the thought of cold calling out of the blue, don't want to have anything to do with it, but it's well worth it. Very well worth it. It's like my mindset is there's $10,000 or $50,000 on the other end of that line. I just got to call them.
Sure. Well, and for those that don't even understand what skip tracing is, can you explain it?
Yeah. So skip tracing, I'll put it in investor terms. Say you see a vacant house and you want to look up the owner. There's some people that don't even know where to start to even go to the county appraisal district or something like that. So, you can start with just an address, figure out who the owner of record is, and then it's a matter of, most people, they stop right here. The owner of record, the mailing address is the same as the property address. It's deer in the headlights. I don't know what to do. And they just forget about it. So skip tracing is figuring out where is that person? Did that person move? Did that person die? You're just trying to find them. And That's what it's all about. There's a lot of, like I said, ideally you can get a phone number fairly easily, but sometimes some people, they're just a little bit harder to find than others. You might have to call relatives or knock on the neighbor's door or call neighbors, whatever the case is.
What kind of information do you deliver from the Skiptracing?
Name, age, and age is another thing sometimes. So our reports will also tell you if somebody's deceased, which obviously is a very important thing to know. But you want to look at the age as well, because sometimes you'll see people 100 years old, but they show up as alive. Doesn't mean they're alive. We'll tell you what to do when you see that. Search for an obituary or something like that.
Right.
Because, if that death is never reported to the SSDI, no database has record of it, so the person always looks alive. So that's a little thing. The age, we have a list of possible relatives, likely relatives, all the phone numbers known associated with that person, their address history, different financial indicators as far as stress, bankruptcy, liens, judgments, possible email addresses, possible criminal history.
Sure.
And and some social media stuff, which is social media is hit and miss, but it's there. And if you're doing automated, it's all just getting plugged into the system anyway, so it doesn't hurt to try it.
So what are your odds, and what is your percentage that you find the people? How often do you find them?
Me personally, it's over 90%. It's pretty, in some of them, I rate everything on the face value. I look at something like if it's a tax delinquent property, I look at certain indicators there. Is the owner deceased? If there's a huge delinquency, but there's still a lot of equity left in the house, is it in rough shape? Are all the indicators telling me they're likely to sell and at a pretty, significant discount? At that point, I'm willing to put in a lot of effort in finding that person. But if it's kind of tight on the face of it, if I can't get them relatively easily, I'm like, yeah, okay, on to the next. It's just, opportunity cost, how much I can only put myself, expend myself so much. But like I said, most people are findable. The vast majority. If any of our customers have help on something like that, they have a really hot deal, I will do whatever I can to help them. It's a rush. You get a really good deal like that, especially a new person. It's hard to believe you can make $70,000 or over $100,000 on single family residence. You can do. I'm not going to say it happens every month. It happens. But you got to know when you really need to, run that thing to the ground and find those people. Right.
Yeah, there's gold. There's gold in those cards. There's gold in those letters, those return letters, return card. And so do you have some system set up? It would seem like, it would make a lot of sense, instead of physically mailing all of these letters and postcards to you, that the return address on the letter or card could be something that goes back to a digital, like a mailbox, like a traveling mailbox or PayTrust, or something along lines like that, where it comes in and they open it up and they scan the letter, and obviously the name on there and the address, and then that could come over to you guys. Do you have a kind of a digital way of really organizing, or do you right now just only have physical cards and postcards or letters coming in?
Right now, it's just physical. It's funny you bring that up, because we are looking at that. Like, is there a way to, electronically streamline that process? If nothing else, like say we have a customer that we developed that relationship, they use the service, they like the service. Well, just cut the middleman out, make us your return address. So it just comes to us and we manage it, just save you from having to pack it up and mail it to us. And that'll come. As people do this longer, like I said, we develop that relationship, that'll come, if we haven't figured out that electronic shortcut anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's true. How many pieces, give me an idea of the operation right now. How many pieces of mail are you processing, on yearly basis, or what does it look like right now? Is it just kind of getting going, or is it on a steamroller right now?
We're still early, still early in the growth. We just started offering the service out. It's been forever, probably in the last 6-8 weeks, and just putting the word out there. Yeah, but I think this week, between this week and last week, we're processing 2,000 or 3,000 pieces of mail, somewhere in there, and then steadily doing the list where people submit their list electronically, and that's something else. Some people, it's not just mail. Some people will take something they used to mail or do mail, say, you know what, I want to do the calls too. We've done probate list, vacant list. And we just run the whole thing like, they just hand us their mailing list or, mailing.
Right.
We run it, and then they're doing the full automation.
Sure.
So.
That's good. Yeah. So do you have a kind of a book that, inspires you, Larry? Anything that you think is, you kind of live by, your motto on that's really helped you in business?
As far as book goes, I'm not getting paid for this by Mitch, but Mitch's book, that's just the one that really got me interested. My Life in 1,000 Houses. That's the one that just really hooked and sold me on something to it. This is workable.
Right.
Other than that, I do, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Great.
If I only got one nugget out of that, it's because I do a lot of phone calls. And one of the things he talks about in there is smile when you're on the phone. It comes across on the other end.
Right.
So anytime I pick up the phone, I have my process. A lot of times I'll stand up too, but smile. I want to sound as friendly, approachable, and relatable as possible. I don't want to sound like a cold business, just trying to grab your house type of deal. So
right.
Those two books, and I read a lot of the other stuff. But I really like a lot of history biographies of people that, just for greater perspective, historical figures that, it's just perspective for us. The stuff they went through, we all think, it's all about perspective, people. Just, no matter how bad you think you have it, I said, I've traveled some third world countries too. I've lived in some too. No matter how bad you think you have it, there's
not that bad.
People that would love to trade places.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your worst day is someone else's paradise. I say that every day.
Oh yeah. You just got to maintain that perspective. No matter how low things are, bad things are, you've got it pretty dang good here.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So do you use mobile apps a lot? Is it something that, are you more of tech, do you get involved with some of the technology?
Yeah, it's funny. The biggest app I use, not for directions, but it's a free app. Everybody uses it, the Google Maps, just to pull up pictures of houses. Just for the view.
That's a great app. Sure. So, do you get 8 hours of sleep every night?
Oh, no. I tried. I went through a phase where I was going to try and do that to see what the results are. I have an internal alarm clock, and I'm basically on 6 hours, sometimes 5.5, sometimes 6.5, and that seems to be the optimum amount for me. If I get more than that, if by chance I can and do that, 7-8 hours, I'm groggy, I feel slow, and I just feel pressure at 6 hours.
What are you most grateful for, Larry?
Besides family and friends, which, I think that's pretty obvious same for everybody, health and just living in this country. I've never had any major health issues, but if I just get sick, I just get a cold and I'm not 100%, it makes me realize how much I take for granted, or, I've been known to break bones here and there and tear some soft tissue, just not being 100%. Again, it's about perspective. You don't realize how good you have it till you lose something.
It's true.
And then this country, the freedom, the opportunity we have is like nothing else anywhere else in this world. I mean, it wasn't that long ago if you had told me I was going to be in real estate doing a podcast about a little niche thing within real estate, I would have laughed at you. But
right, yeah. So it's it's interesting, how kind of we start at one area, then we move to another, and then we come back. So what's interesting about what you're doing with Skiptracing is I believe it's going to be it's a nice add-on, a nice bolt-on for every investor's toolkit that they need, to be able to have this. And so why don't you talk about what's the best way to get in touch with you and kind of what your pricing structure is, or if you want to just discuss that whenever they call you, based on particular areas, or how is it a flat fee? How do you do that exactly for others? And what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Okay. Our pricing is the same nationwide, and we have basically 4 different packages, $50, $100, $200 a month, depending on your different volume levels. And then for bulk processing to all the return mail and doing the automation service or helping you facilitate the automation, that's a $250 record minimum and $2 a record.
$2
pretty hard. We are working on driving our costs down as we get more and more volume, just like anybody else. As we have more as we can drive our prices down, we'll pass that down to everybody else.
Sure.
And like you mentioned, this is something that whether you're subject to guy, rental property guy, everybody has it. This is the most underutilized thing I've come across. And it's funny because you bring up Skiptracing. We're going to do a class later, I think next month here locally for one of the clubs in Houston. And when we're talking to the guy that ran the club, mentioned Skiptracing, because that's awesome. Nobody ever talks about that.
Right.
So, yeah,
right.
We're going to give you 4 or 6 hours of it an ounce. But.
Right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be on here, Larry. And what's the best way to get in touch with you?
You can email me at larry@skipgenie.com. And if you have any questions about anything, about some of the educational stuff we'll give you, as far as how we can help you utilize this, I can kind of give you an idea of what we can do and get you started.
Sure. Okay. Well, thanks for taking the time to be on here, Larry. Make sure that you get in touch with Larry over at skipgenie.com, and we'll make sure you have this in the show notes as well. Stay tuned to be on the next Profit Master podcast series. We're going to bring incredible guests, just like Larry, over to you to help you be productive and actually more fulfilled in this business, right? We need to have fun. So thanks again, Larry.
All right, Corey. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Bye now.
Hi, this is Corey Boatwright, and I have a quick question for you. What is the fastest way to reach your goals? Is it to work harder, work smarter, use system and processes, or hire rock star employees? What about just making more money? Actually, it's none of that. Those things are a byproduct of the one success component that every real estate investor or business owner that I know all have in common. And the answer is clarity. Complete laser focus on what you want, why you want it, and what are you willing to do to get it. So where do you find clarity? By hiring a coach and mentor. Now, could you reach the level of success that you want to achieve by doing this all on your own? The Lone Ranger. Well, maybe, but do you think it would take you double or even triple the time to achieve it compared to hiring a coach and mentor to help guide your path, provide proven instruction with a tailored blueprint that you could follow for building a real estate business that supports your lifestyle and helps you reach your financial and personal goals? Absolutely. Here's the fact. Time isn't recyclable. So I would like to ask you to make good use of it and extend a personal invitation for you to book a phone coaching strategy session by going to callwithcorey.com. That's callwithcorey, Corey spelled Cory.com.
I'm going to ask you a few quick questions on that page, and we're going to go over and see how we can make sure that your business is on path to reach the goals that you want this year. So go to callwithcory.com, that's CORY, and book your phone coaching strategy session today. Remember, be a servant, and I'll see you on there.
You've been listening to another Real Estate Investing Profits Master Podcast series. To receive your free real estate book, Down and Dirty, Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide, how to quit your job to start flipping houses in 90 days or less, head online and go to realestateinvestingprofits.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Estate Investing Profits. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode.